Chinese garden. Thank you all so much for coming. How many are here for a first-time poetry reading? So, wow, quite a few. Well, thank you so much for coming today. We do these poetry series twice a year. We do it every April and every October. And this is the first one of our this month. And they're every Saturday at 3 o'clock. The other poets are listed on the website. And so if this is your first time, certainly don't hesitate to check out our website and see who the other poets are. But we're very honored to have Toni here today. I do want to also acknowledge Dan Stachmills. He's one of our docents. He's been a docent ever since the garden opened. Dan's a poet himself. And Dan is really the inspiration of coordinating these poetry readings. And he's been partnering with me to bring local poets to the garden for the last 5-6 years. And we're really honored to have Toni here today. Toni is an artist as well as a poet. And she has a BA in social work and a MA in humanities, and a focus on literature and literary writing. She has 2 published books, as well as her poetry has been published in numerous journals, such as the Cascade Journal and the Voice Catcher. She's a visual artist, and she loves to combine art and poetry. And I'd like to welcome Toni, and thank you all for coming today.
Hey y'all. Hi. Thank you so much for coming. This is my favorite place. I love the garden. I like to come here and just meander. I like to come here with a plan. I like to come here with a tablet to sketch or to write. It seems like every time I come here, something new happens for me. So being asked to read here is quite an honor for me, and thank you for coming. I'm going to try this without a microphone. How am I in the back? Yeah? Good. Okay. I am going to start with a couple of poems from my book. The book is called Wind Wing. It came out in 2010. It took me 10 years to write it. It's a very personal book, and the first chapter in the book is about my mother and about being a young woman with a mom who was severely mentally ill. And so it took 10 years to sort of, as a catharsis for me, to be able to put words to what that meant inside of me. So this is how that whole poetry thing started for me right around age 10. This is called For the Love of Agnes, and Agnes is my mother's name. 5th grade, almost Mother's Day. Mrs. Chapman assigns poetry. Instructions: write verse, spell mother. Each letter gets 1 line. She reads the classic by Howard Johnson, circa 1915. M-O-T-H-E-R, mother. M is for the million things she gave me. I try M. M is for the marigolds she grew. O is for the love we knew. T is for tap dance lessons, tablecloths, time. I hate poetry. T is for terrible. I push my teeth into the soft skin of the pencil. I need other letters. I spell her name, Agnes. A is for attitude. Takes one to match shoes to handbags. G is for gumption, something I have and she wants. N is for now. Now I lay me down to sleep. E is for every morning, a hot breakfast. S is for sway, kindness over all, her dominion. My poem doesn't rhyme. Teacher says it's a poem, a love poem. On Mother's Day, Agnes listens with sway and dominion and claps. Her 10-year-old asks, "Should I be a poet?" With gumption she replies, "You should, you will." This is the title poem from the book that I just mentioned. Title poem. The book is called Wind Wing, and the title poem, Wind Wing. Sweet breeze, scented with orange blossoms in early summer, caress my face pressed against the open wind wing in her Impala. These rides, a secret time to talk while we forget she was crazy. Top down, headed home with drippy cones, her strawberry, me maple nut. Just enough time to adjust the wind wing while the red leather seats grow warm. She lets me push buttons to find the right song for our sing-along. These are the times I remember now in melancholy middle age. Her hair cut short, dyed blonde, shoulders tanned above the halter top, while shorts sprout bare legs down to bright red toenails. I pictured this as her departure from upstate New York and Catholic school rules, when California set her free and took her down. I watched her ricochet between two worlds, safe home or padded room, delicacies or dry-mouthed delirium, green lawns or barred doors, Sunday mass or shock treatments. Her sanity, barely or not at all. I long for the Impala. It is easier than longing for her. A drive along Victoria Avenue, lined with orange groves and old songs, while we drift between dark nights and darker days. Her life, like the wind wing, unlatched slowly, 1 inch at a time, till the wind arrives at high pitch. Throw it wide open and watch everything fly away. What has become of silence? There are iTunes everywhere, in grocery stores, waiting rooms, everywhere public. What has become of silence? Days when phones rang with real ringing, in homes, behind closed doors, when privacy mattered. Today, no matter what is said, others eavesdrop like window peepers to feed upon tidbits, enticements, free secrets. We hear test results, gossip, dinner plans. Every humdrum detail is unveiled. Remember when calls in public were guarded in boxes of aluminum and glass? Coffins with folding doors? Phone books tethered by steel cords? Coin slots? Graffiti? Dead cigs on the floor? Always that echo? Visible but silent. Seen, not heard. A time when I love you traveled from my lips to your ears and no further. Thank you. And you don't have to clap every time. It's okay. But thank you very much for doing it. Thank you. For those who know me, I love the poet Pablo Neruda. I love that Neruda will write odes, and he'll write an ode to basically anything or most anything. He could turn around and he could look at an orange tree and he could say, I'm writing an ode to that orange. He could come inside and leave his pair of shoes by the door and say, I'm going to write an ode to that pair of shoes. And he does it. And it's amazing when he does it. So this is my attempt to write something after Neruda. And so I wrote one of my favorite things. This is my ode to red wine. Good choice. Radiate in the place between garnets and rubies, named claret, not so plainly red. Emboldened sweet juice, convert in wooden casks, named, prized, poured. You have floated me rivers, soaked and stained. I salute you. Never before 3 p.m., just before dinner. You, the Italian lesson of my youth, held high during speeches and cheers. You swallowed, gulped, savored. You, an old friend. You, savior of the party, the blind date, the funeral. You, smooth, bitter, holy, secure, without question of worthiness or cost. You, the communion of currants and oak, of vine, and this woman, salute. I was a social worker, or I guess am, I'm probably still, even when you're not doing it anymore, it's sort of a part of who you are, for many years. And so as I read through these poems, what you'll probably notice is they have a certain theme about them that just has to do with living real life, that when you're in service to people in that way, it just becomes a part of who you are, and it stays with you, I think, over a lifetime. And I write in a very narrative style. Most of what I write tells you a little bit of a story. There are images and more concrete statements in it. So you might notice that as I go through some of these today. This one's called Hesitation. Lean frontward, dip, hop, a tentative gesture like a child's first jump into the pool. Learn to fly after 6 tries. 6. Outstretched wings lift his fragile frame to the window ledge just 3 inches above the nest. Imagine the first leap of conviction into the unfamiliar. The hawk lacks a complex human brain, yet reveals a recognizable hesitation at this newfound skill. Much like reading a poem out loud for the first time, or climbing to the roof, pondering flight. Sure, some jump into all kinds of messes. Not thinking them through, they'll deal with what comes. But that's not me. I'm the one who thinks it through, rethinks, then overthinks my options. I look for a solid, sure yes. I'm witness to myself in this fledgling hawk. Like him, I long to find the moxie, step into the brink, elevate possibilities of my life, just once fly. This next one is a true story, and it is the first poem that I ever had published. So I'd like to read this. And I look back and I think, oh, maybe I want to edit that a little bit. But I'm going to read it to you as is. It's called Implication. Sky surfing alone on one drift of wind, and then another like a lazy falling leaf. Eyes search below for one skitter in the dust, to zero in and swoop like a crop plane over fields. In silence on a heat-drenched afternoon, just after monsoon rains and a snake-lit sky, the hawk returns to own the territory above the ground and below the clouds. Once, out my kitchen window after a storm, I saw him land on a post at the edge of the yard. And as we locked eyes, I spoke out loud. You own this land, and I just visit. Later that day, I found his feather below the post. And even now, I try not to make too much of it. A little bit of a bird theme happening. I have a real thing about with mine. This is called Love Under a Full Moon. And this happened actually in the same place that the last one did. I was living in southern Arizona, vast sky, and my neighbors had about 8 peacocks. And they, I never knew they flew as much as they did, but they would fly over the fence from their yard into our yard and go around, and they were beautiful to watch. But then when they screeched, I'd always catch myself jumping because it's just like, it's amazing. It's very loud and almost scary if you don't know what it is right off the bat. But one night, I happened to be outside, and this is what I saw. This is called Love Under a Full Moon. Under a full moon, the peacock shows, struts, waits for the moon's magic to lure his love. Her shrill call betrays what she pretends to ignore. If you take a minute to look at the moon, you will miss it. His plumes brush against her neck. He moves her into the shadows, keeps her there until Earth's rotation shines moonlight on them again. They are center stage, courting openly, no shame. Led by nature and moonlight, I secretly long for this freedom to love in an unencumbered ritual. He circles, stops, his plumes hiding her like an ornate silk screen. When she emerges, moonlight reflects colors vibrant as kimono threads, hand-stitched over months by weathered hands. She stands frozen. He lowers his neck to the ground, and in one instant opens his feather fan again as she delights. It is utterly quiet now. They are spellbound in moon glow. I stand silent, one hand over my mouth to contain joy, the other on my chest holds a racing heart. Tonight, alone, under a full moon, I am a witness, and nothing else in the world is this remarkable. The way home along a desert road. The turkey vultures wait for something to die. Sit on fence posts and telephone poles, survey with precision and beady eyes. They are silent and then loud, cackling like vats of sizzling grease. The turkey vultures bicker over roadkill, peck at rotting flesh fused to asphalt, tug-of-war of limbs and hair in the hot desert wind. The turkey vultures wait until my car is upon them, scream a threat at me for interrupting their meal. The turkey vultures wait for nothing specific, just something on its way out, no glamour and no preference. They'll have to wait a bit longer for me. I'm still on my way in. It matters to notice these things. 2 enormous crows mate in the sycamore out front, silently, shiny black wings extended. It's 1 o'clock on a Tuesday, warmest day since winter thaw, first day without socks. And I want to be the crow. Eat worms and gum wrappers and mate without privacy on the front lawn. Before I can back into the street, they've finished. They lean together on the branch. First spring foliage provides little seclusion, but they could care less about these things. curb, I sit, stare, watch to see if intimacy exists between them, between crows. We humans, we're love scavengers. Crows of emotion, we skim the surface, peck our way through the top layer of romance, unable to mine riches of the heart with tools dulled by hurt and a hard outer shell. I think about intimacy a lot these days. Too much. I notice when couples don't touch. Wonder how love can possibly endure in this world. The biggest crow hops a branch, slow glide to center yard. Caw! He stares me down. I want to be a crow. Let him have my life, pay bills and feel the weight of all this nonsense. Imagine me cawing at the neighbors, shiny black wings extended under afternoon sun. The next couple are harking back to sort of my social work days. When we cease to care, there are whispers underneath clanging, screams when the lights go off and come on again. Misery incubates like rabies in a different mammal each spring. It started in the 60s, mental wards closed, and by 2007, 300,000 poor souls warehoused in US prisons, no treatment and no hope. Discarded souls left behind with hollow eyes and thick tongues filled up with starch, wait like prey for the vultures. They exist in the dullness, a gray zone, numb, oblivious to day or time. They are shapes in a Thorazine haze, mornings fueled by nightmares, nights by fear. Alone among thousands, some profound, profane, left in purgatory. What happened to the calypso music and overripe fruit of their youth? Gone. Left behind like the last day of vacation, quick and unremembered. This one, I'm going to ask you to help me with. It's called a call and response poem. I'm going to ask you to say the words, claim me, claim me. This poem was written as a challenge poem. I'm in part of the Vancouver community, Vancouver, Washington poetry community. And in Vancouver, we have a wonderful poet by the name of April Bullard who read an article about the discovery of these jars or urns with ashes that were found underneath in this dark room below where the state hospital was in Salem, Oregon. And they were unclaimed, and there were thousands of them. And she said, what I'd like to do, she said, is write a poem, and I challenge all of you or anyone in the room to write a poem as well about this particular event. And this is the poem that I wrote. So when I gesture to you, would you please respond with, claim me. Claim me. Claim me, wedged in here with 3,500 other souls, lingering, insignificant as old tires.
Claim me.
Claim me as I try to remember when I mattered. I can't grasp why nobody came. Perhaps you forgot for a little while when your marriage went bad and your kids were unruly. And the time, well, it just slipped away before you noticed.
Claim me.
Claim me, please. I've sat silent in this dank room for so long while the others chattered, sobbed, shrieked. They can no longer wound themselves or each other. They can't walk the dark halls of this asylum, and their impatience grows, their ashes packed in jars, lost to this eternal silence.
Claim me.
Claim me, because when I say my name, 16 others chorus, Lily, Lily, and the rumble is torment.
Claim me.
Claim me, I can scarcely preserve your face. Your voice has disappeared. Still you, my sister, now, always.
Claim me.
Claim me, sister. I was ensnared within myself, institutionalized, in this sodden room where nobody visits except spiders, where Jack howls and Helen whimpers. And over again, I construct our walk to school, my hand in yours, you singing that song I can't remember. Sister, claim me.
Claim me.
I'm making time for Whitman. Making a space, hollowing out a perfectly shaped lemon. Seeds fall around my bare feet. I sip black tea, push hard against the news of Yoshani Vaughn, her body left on Rocky Butte, in the rain, in the cold, in the leaves and grass. I'm making time for Whitman, to earn some karmic merit, because he knew all there was to know. I await his wisdom to answer cloudy questions, like why 16-year-old Parrish Bennett Jr. took her life, hid her from family for agonizing months. I'm making time for Whitman, the father I'd hoped for, crossing Brooklyn Ferry on his way to work, back in time for supper, sauntering the pavement to my front door, carries the news in his rumpled suit, leans over the table to ponder potatoes, 2 fingers in his thick white beard, begins the story with, "Have you heard?" I'm making time for Whitman. Interpret his lists, camera and plate, connections of man, foot to the earth, same old law. Shouldn't laws keep us from harming each other? I'm making time for Whitman. As the spinning girl retreats and advances to the hum of the big wheel, as the lunatic is carried at last to the asylum. In Portland, a fist pounds a table inside her grandmother's house. Innocence drowned like a feral cat mid-summer. We asked whether those who defile the living were as bad as they who defile the dead. Today, I make time for Yoshani Vaughn. She needs this more than Whitman. He puts things in their attitudes. He puts today out of himself with plasticity and love. He is the answerer. The mourners seek a voice for Yoshani. She has left without final words. Words for her mother, her brother, words for us. Whitman said, "Justice is not settled by legislators and laws. It is in the soul." Mr. Whitman would be the first to ask, whose soul will carry the weight of this? Checking time, it's 3:30, so I'm doing all right.